Good morning, everyone. Beautiful morning. I'm really excited to talk about this week's Torah portion in a way that maybe you haven't, um, something that I wanted to bring something out of the Torah portion that we haven't spoken about before. I want to talk about angels and holiness. Usually, when you think of an angel, you probably think of holiness as well. So, this week's Torah portion opens with a tale of Abraham sitting during a hot day at the entrance of his tent, and he's observing three men are standing nearby. And he ran towards them and insisted they come and relax in his tent. And Abraham's very specific. The Torah says, let some water be brought and wash your feet and recline beneath a tree. And I, meaning Abraham, will fetch some bread so that you can sustain yourself. And the three men consent and they come. Now, at this point, the Torah gives us a detailed account of what's about to happen. Something fascinating. It says Abraham rushed to the tent of Sarah and said, hurry, hurry, three measures of the finest flour and knead it and make rolls. And then Abraham ran to the cattle and he took a calf, a tender and good, and he gave it to the young man who rushed to prepare it. He took cottage cheese and milk and the calf which he prepared, and he placed these before them and stood over them as they ate under the tree. Now the Torah continues, and they asked him, where is Sarah, your wife? And he said, she's in the tent. And they said, I will return to you this time next year, and your wife Sarah will have a son. Now, the continuation of the narrative makes it clear that these three visitors were no simple men, but rather spiritual energies or angels. Angels that are manifested in the bodies and the guise of men. They're angels that look like men. And these angels were sent to carry out, as we find out, three monumental tasks that are described in the continuation of the story. Number one, this story to inform Abraham and Sarah that they would have a child. Number two, the second angel to overturn the evil city of Sodom and Gomorrah. And number three, to rescue Abraham's nephew Lot and his family who live in Sodom. Now, there are so many questions on this story. I know you have questions. I have questions. I'm going to just talk about a few of the questions that I have right now. Number one, since the two of the three angels came to carry out tasks unrelated to Abraham, why are they coming to Abraham's home first? If that's their job, if their job is to overturn the evil city and to save Lot and his family, why are they coming? Well, they want a free lunch. Number two, this is my second question. Why does the Torah find it necessary to inform us of the exact words and the tasks of Abraham when he greeted the guests, including the entire menu of what was served? If the Torah wanted to teach us about extraordinary hospitality, it could have simply said that Abraham took care of all of their needs. Why does it have to say exactly what he did, play by play? And number three, the question the men ask Abraham is, where is Sarah, your wife? Seems amiss. Since after Abraham told them where she was, they didn't even proceed to address her. They just continued speaking to Abraham. So why are they asking, where's Sarah? It seems kind of strange. These are my three questions that come out of this story. And I want to just unpack them a bit and perhaps and hopefully allow them to carry a message for you from this week's Torah portion for all of our lives. Kabbalah offers a moving interpretation of this episode. According to Jewish tradition, there exists in each generation a tzaddik. What is a tzaddik? A great moral giant, someone who serves as the spiritual foundation of the world, as a bridge between heaven and earth, a human being who carries the burden of history on their shoulders, always with their finger on the pulse of the generation. So while others maybe plan vacations or retirements, this person can't sleep at night as long as there's one soul in God's universe that's hurting. In his times, we're pretty clear from the narrative of the Torah that Abraham was this person. The Rebbe, he was the guide, he was the teacher, he was this tzaddik. When the three angels were dispatched to pay a visit to planet Earth, they were determined to visit this extraordinary human. They longed to be touched by his soul, inspired by his spirituality, ignited by his passion. The angels craved to encounter the majesty of holiness at its peak. When the three angels approached Abraham's tent, they expected to discover a soul that was burning with a sacred flame, that was steeped in heavenly meditation, that was melting away in infinite ecstasy. They expected to find a spirit that was dancing with the divine, a spirit that was free of any trace of mundane. They expected to find this majestical human, what you would expect, what you would think a spiritual master is. But they did not encounter that. The reality, what they encountered was somebody who was very concerned about their physicality. Bring some water to wash your feet. Recline beneath the tree. This great spiritual master says, I am going to personally fetch you a morsel of bread so that you can sustain yourself. These are the words that came out of God's ambassador on planet Earth. Abraham rushed to the tent of Sarah, his wife, and said, hurry, 3 measures of fine flour, knead, make rolls. Then Abraham ran to the cattle, took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to the young men who rushed to prepare it. He took cottage cheese and milk and the calf which he prepared, and he placed it before them, and he stood over them like a waiter as they ate under the tree. Is this what you expect from a spiritual giant? Is this what you expect from God's man on earth? A good chef who knows how to run a smooth kitchen? That was Abraham. They thought they were coming to a spiritual giant. They must have thought to themselves, I think we made a mistake and we ended up at the butcher shop. In lieu of finding the light of the divine radiating from Abraham's tent, what do they discover? An old man running around with tongue and mustard in his hands. Then came to their mind that maybe when they heard in heaven that Abraham was the tzaddik of the generation, it wasn't referring to him because he seems like he's a butcher with a with, and a waiter, maybe it was referring to his wife, to Sarah. Maybe she's the real master of the generation. And maybe Abraham is her attendant. So the narrative continues, and they ask him, "Where is Sarah, your wife? Maybe we can get a glimpse of your wife. Maybe we're going to find, maybe we'll encounter the presence of authentic holiness." And what does he say? And she's in the tent. What Abraham was telling the angels is that if they didn't get it, seeing Sarah was not going to do the job either, because she was more concealed than Abraham. She's in the tent. Her true identity would not be easily appreciated. And it's at that moment, for the first time, the angels realized how deeply they had erred. In their longing to encounter holiness, they missed the ultimate point. They missed something so important and something that we can take to heart. That authentic majesty of human holiness consists of the daily little acts, the acts of love, the acts of selflessness, the acts of graciousness, things that are performed amid the stress and the lowliness of physical existence. That this is how greeting the guests and being their waiter, that's how you experience holiness in this world. The angels failed to recognize that genuine experience of serving God means not to soar to the heavens searching for angels, but to be there for another human in a very real, a very pragmatic way. That is holiness in this world. Hurry, hurry, 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, make rolls. That simple, mundane behavior. Abraham teaches us how to be holy in this world. So often in our lives, we look for holiness and we say, well, that can't be holy. That can't be holy. It's got to be some spiritual guide, someone meditating on a mountain. For us, for students of Jewish thought, for students of Kabbalah, holiness is right here in making the finest flour, in kneading and making the finest rolls, in serving others. That's holiness. And what came the response from the angel? I will return to you this time next year, and your wife Sarah will have a son. It wasn't merely a communication of God's earlier promise to Abraham. It was a response of an angel in awe of the revolution that Abraham introduced to the world, in which a human being, in their ordinary daily behavior, can build a home for God. Abraham's revolution, the angel insisted, must have a future in the form of a family and ultimately a people charged with a mission to teach the world how to fuse heaven and earth. The angels never forgot that visit. Abraham gave them not only a sobering lesson in what real life is, but also a lesson in what it meant to be authentically spiritual. That's true spirituality, Abraham was communicating to the angels, is not in our human attempt to escape the trappings of this world. That's not true spirituality. But in our commitment to drawing down the light, the beauty into the darkness of life. It's only here and not on Mars that you can create a real atmosphere. And this explains the change of language in the text. In the beginning of the narrative detailing the visit of the angels, we read that the angels were standing over him. Later, when the guests are being served, we read that Abraham stood over them. It was though as if this act of hospitality that Abraham rose so far beyond the angels, he was now standing over and above them through simple human kindness practiced here on earth. We as humans have the ability to reach further than the most spiritual angels. And the angels are jealous. The angels want to experience that level of spirituality. But it's us, through living in the very mundane, very real elements of this world, through practicing physicality, that we can reach the greatest spiritual heights. And so my blessing to you in this little commentary on this week's Torah portion is that we should remember the spirituality and the holiness in the little acts and the everyday. It may be boring, may not be exciting, but that's the secret. That's Abraham's secret. And that's the secret to spirituality in the universe. With that, I wish you a beautiful Shabbat Shalom.